All right, so let's get started because this is something that I just have to address. I get too many questions and comments on this subject. So just give me a couple minutes to get settled. I just came from another meeting and then we're going to get started on this conversation. Pretty much a day in the life of someone managing their personal brand internationally. I'm going to walk you through from start to finish how I do it. I'm going to shut down the window, shut down some lights, and then we're going to get started in a few. All right, so let me get started. And I'm going to be pretty much very chill today about this conversation because like I said, I get a lot of questions about this topic about personal branding. How have I been able to manage my brand? And I just want to come live for about a couple minutes, 15 minutes max, if not 20, to walk you through what I do, right? How I've been able to do over the past couple of years, share with you some insights, what I've learned, but mainly what does it look like, right? And so I didn't come with, a big PowerPoint presentation because honestly, it's just me really, it's kind of like a ask me anything live response to the top typical questions I get asked regarding how I manage my personal brand. And I just wanted to address it. And so I'll start with the basic fundamentals that for many of you, when it comes to personal branding, I think we are at a different stage in our careers now where we no longer need to be told that personal branding is important. I think we all know that now. I've been teaching and talking about personal branding for over a decade. And I remember there was a time where I had to prove to people why personal branding was important. That is no longer the case. So good, we're on the same page. You get it. You know it's important. So the next bullshit excuse that people give me now is it's like, okay, when I'm ready, I'll do X, Y, Z, or I'm ready, but I just don't know where to start. And I want to start with probably the biggest misconception before getting to the day in the life and how I manage my personal brand is that you are not building a brand. You already have a personal brand. And I hate to hit it to you, just because you're not proactive about how you're managing it doesn't mean you don't have a brand. You already have a personal brand. So let's just start there. Those who are proactive and purposeful about personal brand management, what you're building is an audience. Because at the end of the day, we all start with a core audience. That's the people you go to school with, the people you work with, the people you meet in your everyday life in your neighborhood. You organically have a reputation with the people you interact with on a regular basis. So that is your core personal brand. What happens is when you're starting to be very professional and purposeful about personal brand management, you are trying to move beyond your inner circles, your immediate circles, and try to now create an audience almost from scratch outside of the confines of your daily interactions. Okay. And so at the end of the day, as you're trying to expand your reputation, your expertise, that's how your personal brand grows beyond that original core audience. So I just want to start there. You're not building a brand, you're building an audience when you're being purposeful about this journey. The second thing is you're not trying to find a product to monetize. I think a lot of people, when they think about, okay, how do I make money with my personal brand? They find all these crazy influencers on the internet to learn from, and they get really confused, right? Because I know there's a lot of trends, but you don't need a product. Your experiences are the product. Okay. What you're trying to do is actually package your current and past experience into a product, right? And like I said, I understand with the influencer economy, I could get into this in a completely different live, that you get really confused and think it's all about selling other people's products, but you're not. Your journey is enough. Your journey is powerful enough to move the needle forward for someone else who's two steps behind you. That is it. So one, you're not building a brand, you build an audience. Two, you're not finding a product. Your experience is the product. And three, you do not need to overwhelm yourself to be everywhere on social media. You just need one place on the internet that you can control and build on so people can find you and relate with you, right? So that's another crazy misconception where people think that they need to be on 10 different channels all at the same time. I even stacked every single year. I add another channel to really build on. I never recommend that people try to be on across all social media channels consistently because you will experience burnout really quickly. Don't do it, right? It's an order of procession, right? And you don't need a huge following to monetize. I think a lot of people think they need to have millions of subscribers, millions of followers. Listen, I work with a lot of people, and I'll tell you, some people who have millions of followers don't know how to convert that audience, right? You have some very passive following people who will never buy for you, never work with you, never partner with you. Those are just, watchers, right? But those of you who are building an audience that you can really serve and support, 100 of those people is worth 10 times more than a million of those people who are just passively just watching, right? So you don't need a huge following to monetize. You don't even need a following to monetize. I've seen people monetize purely through email and DMs, okay? Also, you don't need a major team, a big team to manage your personal brand. I've seen a lot of people say that when they get an assistant, a business dev team, that's when they move forward. You just need to have an organized routine. That is it. So I wanted to start with those preconceptions and just immediately take that out for the count, because it's just way too many conversations around saying the same thing over and over, what people's expectations are around personal brand management. Okay, so it starts with me originally answering this question 15 years ago. And even if it evolves over time, I still have a core feeling of what I want to be known for. And where I'm at right now, it's a little bit different than where I was 15 years ago, all right? But I'm still on the journey of accomplishing that goal of being known for something that really matters to me, right? And so for a lot of you, you have to start the exercise, just picking 20 words, topics that you want to be associated with in your career and journey. So for me, I know I'm an international brand. I'm seen all over the world. I'm a global speaker. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm in the tech and innovation space. I'm in the impact and social entrepreneurship space. I speak for women. I speak for family. I speak for motherhood. I travel, right? So all those different terms are associated with my brand. And I've quantified that my journey and all the things that I've done across all these different experiences, I want to serve entrepreneurs or corporate professionals who are trying to monetize their personal brand and build digital businesses. That is it. So that is my core audience, and that's who I want to serve. So I do the work that I do to serve them and get them to the finish line, right? And here's where people get confused. Once they figure out the content that interests them, they kind of start creating content at this point, but you're not supposed to do that. If you want to manage your personal brand, you have to go through the full cycle of really creating a product, a marketing strategy, a sales strategy, and an operational strategy to start monetizing and building that brand purposely from scratch over the next couple of years. So you don't start creating content at this point. Here's where we go into how I manage my day-to-day. So first, it starts with structuring the management of your brand. And what I've done is I've picked my product expertise. And my product expertise is really around personal branding and public speaking. So over the years, I have packaged that into a product in different ways. I originally started it through events, through webinars and courses and boot camps. Now I've expanded to conferences, consulting, coaching, and multi-week courses. But originally I started with just monetizing my content through paid live webinars. I know it's crazy today to think that people used to pay for webinars, but 10, 15 years ago, people, I could just put on an Eventbrite and people were just paying for my webinars, right? And join me for 1 or 2 hours, and that was it. I get 10 people, I was good for the day, I was good for the week, right? And so picking that product to go to market with and go to the world with is really important. What I do, how do I share it with others in a systematic way? And these structures are a way to do that. The second you do, right? And at the fundamental level, social media is the starting point, right? You have to have a social media page that interact with. And for me, it's LinkedIn. I've said this from the mountaintops that LinkedIn is really the best medium for me to connect with people through DMs, through groups, and live on my page. It has been the great marketing channel for me. I am present in other social media platforms for me. Okay. The second thing I will say is that ultimately, I try to make sure that I get people off social media to follow me through my newsletters. So email marketing is big, but you do not need to confuse yourself and get into email marketing and podcasting. Just try to pick one medium to talk to people. And if it's social media, it's social media. If it's email marketing, it's email marketing. If it's Podcasting is that. But the point is picking your channel to have those conversations. And then operationally, here's where people start to get confused. If you're building an audience and serving that audience, how do you manage them? You cannot manage them through social media. You cannot manage them just through emails. You have to have some type of documentation system. For me, originally, I started with spreadsheets. I used to use Google Docs for me to register through different conversations I'm having on the internet, and I manage it that way. Obviously, that's not sustainable. Then I started to get into CRMs. If you don't know what customer relationship management databases are, some great ones like ConvertKit, Kajabi. There's so many different ones that you could use. HubSpot, but ConvertKit is pretty much easy to start with because it's I would say the cheapest one to get started with to build your audience and manage your contacts based on certain conversations and webinars and communications that you're doing online. And for me, I use Kajabi. In the past, I used to use HubSpot. The point is you have to have something to manage the operations of your personal brand. And then you got to pick your financial channels. How do you want to get paid? When I first got started, it was through Eventbrite because everyone's booking to speak with me through Eventbrite, right? Whether it was conferences, webinars, or boot camps, it was Eventbrite. Then I evolved to PayPal. Now I use Stripe to take on cards and any form of payment. But you got to pick a way to get paid. And the last but not least, what is your digital HQ on the internet? For some of us, maybe it's your social media landing page. That is it. So LinkedIn is a great way to start. For me, it was a WordPress site that I built and coded from scratch. Eventually, I evolved to Kajabi. And a lot of people use a lot of different ways to house their courses and content. But this is the 5-step management hierarchy that you need to get to the point where you can manage your personal brand on a daily basis, but also be able to have some type of operational structure to monetize, scale, and grow your personal brand purposely. Pick your product, how you want to package it, pick your marketing channel, pick your operational management, which is a CRM. How do you want to get paid? And how do you want to be found on the digital internet? Okay. And so I want to now talk about how does all of this pan out on a day-to-day? And how it pans out on a day-to-day really is, first and foremost, the day did not become a conversation daily. It started with me having a year-long plan that I do tweak throughout the year, right? But the most important thing is being able to really articulate, okay, what do I want to do every quarter? And because you are not selling a product, this is why you haven't been able to monetize your brands. You have not told people how they could work with you beyond the content that you put on the internet. So for me, I have 2 signature programs that what I enjoy is customizing real training and real conversations and real execution with my audience. And that's the Public Speaker Career Accelerator program that I have. And it's the Personal Brand Management Accelerator program, 2 signature programs. And I do that in Q2 and Q3 because Q1, I am constantly traveling sometimes for speaking engagements. And that's when I'm getting the start of the year. So I only do mini boot camps where people could get short wins. And be able to know down the road that I have these 2 signature programs I only host once a year that they could get involved with. And at the end of the year, I do a series of boot camps because sometimes I plan out what I want to do on a quarterly basis. And then on a monthly basis, I do have a content calendar, what I post on social. I do have a monthly newsletter to keep people engaged in what I'm doing. And then how I get lump sum capital, this is monetizing here, right? Into my accounts when it comes to my personal brand. My brand is selling on a daily basis through speaking engagements, conferences, digital content downloads, programs on autopilot. But systematically, about 5 to 6 times a year, I do something called live launch cycling, where I literally kind of galvanize my audience to say, okay, here's what I'm seeing in the world, and I want to share that insight with you. And I have no expectations, by the way. Obviously, it's great when I'm able to convert those audiences into my paid programs because I'm able to go deep dive with them after those 3 to 5 day training programs where they learn a lot. And let me tell you, I go in because I love teaching. You could tell. And so I share a lot, literally with no expectation. But if people want to go further than 5 days, then I tell them about how to do that. And so I do that 6 to 8 times a year. And for this year specifically, I didn't do January and February because I was coming off of postpartum, but I did do May. And that's when people got a chance to come in accelerator program. I did one in July and August for my personal brand accelerator program, which opens up doors today, by the way, if you want to join in. And then October, November, I probably won't be doing major life cycles, but I'll be doing mini programs to engage. But pretty much if you miss those opportunities to join me on those, okay, and I'm very purposeful about managing. I'm kind of one of the few in the industry that likes hosting their courses live. I don't like just sending pre-recordings on my major signature programs. So I like coaching a lot. I like customizing a lot, and I like talking to people, right? And so for a lot of people, when they see I open doors to any of my programs, which is 2 signature programs I have, that's it, right? They join immediately because they know if they don't join, they won't have until next year. And there goes that. So for me, I've already planned out my months. And so with that, then it becomes weekly execution. This is how my week goes. Mondays and Fridays are flex days for me, which means I try not to schedule any phone calls, meetings, or any work-related conversations during those times. It's flex in the sense that if I need to, I will. But I usually do not work intensively on Mondays and Fridays. My core work week for me personally, in terms of like how I manage my personal brand and my multiple businesses ventures that I have, is really Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Tuesdays and Thursdays when I host client sessions. Again, I do coach people through my workshops and programs. That usually runs 1.5 hours each on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then, so that's about, 3 to 4 hours, because on Wednesdays I come on do my live webinars every week. So if you look at it, for my personal brand alone, I'm managing around 4 hours of actual active delivery of content to the people that I'm serving. And then when you look at my business, I'm doing about 4 hours each day. And again, keep in mind, I'm a mother and a wife. I have kids. I have 4 kids. I'm married. And so I don't have a lot of hours in the day. By the time I drop off the kids in the morning and come back and pick them up, I don't have a full work week like the typical person. So I'm saying this in context that if you don't have those type of responsibilities, you might have more hours in the day to do, but I have to be extremely efficient with less time. And so for me, my work week in a week is actually 12 hours for business, 4 hours for my personal brand in terms of actual execution. So that's about 16 hours of active management. And I have 4 hours of creativity and planning, me being creative about what's next, me seeing what's going on. And by the way, that does not include occasional 5 to 10 hours of R&D. In R&D, I am constantly researching new opportunities. That's, R&D in terms of my team reaching out for speaking opportunities, podcast opportunities. Christine, you should start doing this with your brand. You should start doing this with the business. Like, that's R&D. But it's really about 16 to 20 hours of active work that I'm doing. Me personally, my team is obviously a full 40-hour work week. But for me personally, I'm doing 20 hours of active work. And then I have, on occasion, depending on the season, 5 to 10 hours of additional time for R&D management. That's my week. Okay, so my agenda on a daily basis is really, I wake up at 5:30. I actually do, because I have kids. I want to wake up before they wake up at 6. So 5:30 a.m. I do have a farm, and I also have a homestead, a backyard farm. So usually around 5:30 a.m. I literally just go out and water my plants and check on the chickens, check on the eggs. It's weird. Like, I have a weird life right now. I feel like a granny saying this, but this is my life. So in the morning, I do the things that are personal to me, like my garden, my backyard farm, and get that done. And then I start getting things ready, for the kids, in terms of like getting, prepared, because I cook breakfast on a daily. I also have nannies with me, by the way, that support me on getting the kids ready in the morning. So 5:30 a.m., that's what I'm doing. So by 6 a.m. when they wake up, we're on to the races. So it's about an hour and a half of just madness. Okay. Um, Getting the kids ready, getting them fed, getting them out the door, getting them to school. So silence doesn't really occur until like around 8:30 when I'm back in the house. And it depends on the morning. I do like to sometimes just drink tea and just chew close and swallow it. And that's just random. I could talk about health and wellness after, but just my thing. Sometimes I eat papaya seeds, just to keep my body cleansed. But that's just another conversation for later. But the point is, I usually don't have a full breakfast meal until later on in the day, and so by 9 my team starts to arrive in, and that's when I start having conversations with them at 9. But realistically, between 8:45 to around 9:15, I'm really just checking the stats. I try not to check my emails. Yeah, I'm checking the stats on how many people are signing into my newsletter, how many people are, viewing my lives, like these type of stats, to see where people are at. Reading comments from, because my team, they send WhatsApp reports and email daily reports on what they've seen across all my media channels or across all my communication channels. And I usually review that. And that helps a lot to obviously tailor my content. But by 9 a.m., we're having full-blown conversations where I meet with my PA team to tell them what I need them to do on behalf of my personal brand. And I also meet with my business teams who are talking about, okay, we're running an event this quarter, event management, sales management, outreach management, everything that has to do with the business happens in those conversations. And then, like today, for example, because I have multiple lives this week, I spent the first hour and a half really just preparing for today, preparing for tomorrow's webinar Wednesday, and preparing for Thursday. I have a live in partnership with an institution called Graphene to host a live webinar sessions, right? Because I do have institutional partners that I work with on a regular basis. And so that's it. And now 11 a.m., I'm live here with all of you. Hi, right? And then after this, remember, today is the doors open for my personal brand accelerator program. So I'm going back in and checking with the team to see how's the communication going, how many people are signing up, do people have questions, what are people saying? So it's the launch of my personal brand accelerator program where people can join in to work with me for about 5 to 6 weeks on their personal brand and helping them manage their personal brand. Towards the afternoon, I do eat in between, but towards the afternoon, it's really around sales and management. I have something called the daily hour, and we are just constantly just trying to do conversations, right? DMing, comments, really interacting on groups on behalf of my personal brand, Facebook group communications, targeting my ideal clients, definitely managing my public speaking gigs that's coming up. And I target major conferences in Africa, the Caribbean, Middle East. I'm an international brand, so I work with events across I would say the diaspora market because I'm diaspora myself. I'm African American, but I'm also of Haitian Ghanaian descent. So that helps in terms of my background, in terms of the networks I tap into. The next big launch that we have is really UNGA Week, right? UNGA Week is UN General Assembly Week in New York City. It's about 2 weeks of every major political figure is going to be in town in New York for 2 weeks. And a lot of the CEOs, it's like Davos, but in New York. So not only am I speaking at several events, I'm also attending several events, and I'm also hosting events. So it's a huge time frame of activities for me and my team. And so we're gonna have a meeting about that, and we usually have meetings about that up until we come into September. And then in the afternoon, pretty much seeing where we're at in terms of contract and procurement management and live programs. Like I said, what makes us successful over the past couple of years is we figured out the secret sauce in bringing in sales through contracts, but also through live programs for across all my business channels, but also on my personal brand as well. And so the afternoon is really around managing those conversations and relationships and make sure that we are up to protocol with all those different conversations as our clients expect. And that's about it. So if you think about it, my day-to-day is really around checking the stats, creating content, and having my team really support me on creative management across all my brands. But if you think about how I'm able to manage my brand over the course of the past couple of years, it really boils down to once I made those decisions on what expertise I'm going to package and create a product, once I've made a decision on what channel I want to distribute my conversations on, LinkedIn, once I made a decision what dashboard I'm going to use to manage my community CRM, being at the time was ConvertKit. Now I use Kajabi. Once I made a decision on how I'm going to get paid, I'm using Stripe now. Back then it was PayPal. Once I made a decision on how people could find me on the internet, on my website is live. Then I'm able to really map out day to day what I'm starting to do. And like I said, I want to peel back a little bit. This is my year, okay? What I want to do every single quarter, what I want to do every single month, what I want to do every single week. And my weekly cycles, it's not filled with a lot of business activity. I try to do the things that give me 80% of the results, okay? And the things that give me 80% of the results is follow-up communication, right? My team and I, we are constantly like we do more. Let me give you the secret. We do more DMs and private conversations, group conversations, email communications than social media posting. And that's why a lot of people say, Christine, it doesn't look like you sell a lot on your social media. I really don't. Maybe I'll start to tap into that. But social media was always just really a conversation just for me to like share more thought leadership and expertise. But really, people do want to have private conversations with you. People really do want to have engaged, literally exclusive dialogues with you. And that has been the best kept secret for me to not only grow my personal brand, monetize it, but also grow it. This is the day-to-day that I do on a regular basis. You have it right here on your screen. It's not that complicated, is it? Right? And so if you want to be able to now move forward and do this yourself, maybe you're like, okay, this is great. How do I move forward to do this, to start managing my personal brand? If you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling like this is so much to learn, like, let me help you do that. Because essentially, managing your personal brand is so paramount right now. And what you need to do is literally, what do you want to specifically do every single month? And then say, okay, if I want to be able to generate, let's say you say, okay, I want to be able to speak on at least 2 international events. I want to sell at least 5 digital products to monetize. And I want to be able to grow my audience by at least 100 people. Really create into management, right? That will start with, if you had 90 days to kick this off and really created a routine around that, that will be like, okay, for Q4, these are my goals. So how will I do that? Maybe I'll do a live 5-day, right? To get as many people to sign up to talk to, right? I will charge at the end of the program, maybe 200 something bucks for people to join me for just a paid workshop, post that live, right? Now I'm generating sales. And I'll invite people from 2 different countries to join me, and they will invite me to their international programs virtually or in person. So now I've fulfilled the quota of that international conversation. And really, on a day-to-day for the rest of the year, every single week, I'm going to commit 2 days out the week to really manage this process. And as my brand grows, as this process grows, then I add more days to it, to the point that I have a systemized routine. That is it. Right. So if you need help for someone to help you walk through how to do that, I do want to invite you to join me for the Personal Brand Management Accelerator Coaching Program, where I'm going to be with you for about 5 to 6 weeks, 4 weeks live, just doing the Tuesday evenings and Saturday mornings to help coach you. And then we have 2 weeks of me having customized conversations with you. Yes, one-on-ones. If that sounds exciting for you and you want to be able to work with me for your personal brand, let's do this. Let's connect. I would love to work with many of you on. And so let's do it. So hopefully today's session was very helpful. I did say I was going to keep this short and to the point for 30 minutes or less, so that way you could be able to digest it and put it in. Thank you again for joining me. I'm going to share with you ways for us to connect post this conversation for sure. And if you have questions or comments, just DM me on the comments. I will definitely, let me see. I see a couple of comments. DM me on the comments. I always follow up with every comment, every question, so I will be able to respond as quickly as possible. Give me some love. Let me know what you thought about today. Give me a hashtag love if you're loving this, and we'll take it there. All right. Thank you so much, and hopefully this was useful to you. A day in the life of managing a personal brand. Bye-bye.